Hi, today I'm gonna show you how to exploit some of the vulnerable ports in a vulnerable machine called Metasploitable 2. Now in this demo, I will be using some penetration tools such as Metasploit for auxiliary and exploitation module, also Hydra for brute forcing credentials, and also Nmap for scanning the target. Now first, I'm gonna check the IP address of our target by typing ifconfig. So the IP address of our target is 172.17.0.3. Now I'm gonna open another terminal and change directory to desktop. Here, I will create a folder called pentest. Then I will change directory to that folder that I've created. And I will create a file called Nmap. Next, I want to scan the target using Nmap to see what are the ports that are open in this system and also what are the services running on this port. So we type sudo nmap -sv for version scanning and the IP address of our target. And in this demo, I only want to scan the first 1000 ports. So we type -p and the ports that we want to scan. And I want to save the result of nmap to the file that we have created a while ago. And we type the password, hit enter, then we wait for the result. Okay, so now we have the result of our Nmap scan. And as you can see, the system is running on Linux. So these are the ports that are open in this system. Port 21 for FTP or File Transfer Protocol. We can also see the version of this service. Port 22 SSH, port 23 Telnet, 25 for SMTP, port 80 for HTTP, port 111 RPC, and also port 139 and port 445 for SMB, and so on. Now in this demo, I'm going to exploit port 21 FTP, port 22 SSH or Secure Shell, port 23 Telnet, and port 445 for SMB. Okay, now so first I'm going to exploit port 21, and since we have the version of this service running on this port, we can just search on Google if this version has a vulnerability that we can exploit. So I'm going to open my browser and let's search this version. So I'm going to type vsftpd version 2.3.4 exploit. Uh, then I'm going to open Rapid 7. Okay, so we are in the page of Rapid 7, and it says here that this version is vulnerable with this module. So we can use this module in Metasploit. So this is the module. Now I can just copy this module and paste it in Metasploit. But first, I'm going to open up another terminal and enter Metasploit by typing msf console in quiet mode. Now I'm going to copy the module. Now we need to paste the module that we've copy pasted in Rapid7. Hit enter. Now the module is loaded. We need to type options to see all the variables that we need to set before we can use this module. So our host is the IP address of our target, which is 172.17.0.3. Our port is the target port, which is port 21. Now type run or exploit to start this module. Now as you can see, we've gained a shell and we have a session open. Now to see who am I log as, we can type who am I. So I am logged in as root and we can see all the directories in this system. So I'm gonna background this session and move on to the next port. So the next port is port 22 or SSH or secure shell. So one thing we can do here is brute force our way in, and by that we need to use an auxiliary module in Metasploit. So let's search for that module by typing search SSH, and the type of this module is auxiliary. So what we are looking for is an SSH scanner that will gather credential for us. So what we need is number 15 SSH login. So use 15. Then let's check the options. So here are the variables that we need to set. So first, we need to set the R host, which is the IP address of our victim. Also need to brute force the password. So by that, we need to set a word list for this module to use. So I have a custom word list that I've already created and it's in op. So I'm gonna set that, and we also need to brute force the username. So same thing, we need to set the word list that this module will use. So the word list is in op. Hit enter. Let's check all the variables once more. Then type run. Okay, while we are waiting for this module to finish, I'm gonna show you another way of brute forcing credentials, and it is by using a tool called Hydra. To start Hydra, we type sudo hydra -l to set the word list you want to use in brute forcing the username, -p to set the word list you want to use in brute forcing the password. Type the IP address of our target, and we want to connect to SSH. Then -t to set the timing of this brute force attack. Hit enter and wait for the result. Now as you can see, we have gathered 2 credentials with this attack. Now to log in through SSH, we type SSH, the user that we want to use, and the IP address of our target. Hit enter. Type yes. Then type the password that we have gathered. So I'm connected to our target system via SSH. So I'm gonna check who am I logged in as and check the directories of our target. Going back in our module in Metasploit, as you can see we have gathered the same credentials as we did in Hydra. Now moving on, our next target is port 23 for Telnet. So basically Telnet is like SSH, but the connection in Telnet is insecure. We can do the same thing that we did in SSH. We will use Hydra to brute force the credentials. Now as you can see, we have gathered the same credentials a while ago. To connect via Telnet, we type Telnet space the IP address of our target, then hit enter. Now type the user we want to use. So I'm gonna use user and the password is user. So I'm connected via Telnet. Again, I check who am I logged in as and I check the directories of my target. Now our last target is port 139. Now this service is running on Samba but it doesn't give us the exact version of this service. So we are going to use an auxiliary module in Metasploit to scan the target so we can see the exact version of this service. So what we are going to use is the SMB version scanner. Type options for the variables. Now as you can see, the only thing that we need to set is the rhost, which is the IP address of our target. Now as you can see, the service is running on Samba 3.0.20. Now we can look it up on Google. Now on Google, I'm gonna type Samba 3.0.20 exploit. Hit enter. Now we are going to open rapid7.com. Now it says here that this version of Samba is vulnerable to a command execution. And there's a module in Metasploit that we can use to exploit this vulnerability. Now what I'm going to do is copy this module and paste it in Metasploit. Now type options for the variables we need to set, and we can also type info for the information of this module. Now I'm going to set the rhost, which is the IP address of our target, R port for the target port. Now to see all the available payloads that we can use in this module, type show payloads. So these are all the payloads that we can use in this module. What I want is a payload that will give us a Meterpreter shell. But since there is no option for Meterpreter, I'm gonna run this module. Command shell session has opened. Now I can see who am I logged in as and check the directories of this target. This session, and what I'm about to do next is I'm going to upgrade this shell that we have into Meterpreter shell. So I'm going to search for a post-exploitation module called shell to Meterpreter. So I'm going to use number 5 and I'm going to check the variables we need to set. So what we need to set is the session. So what I want to upgrade is session number 1. As you can see, a Meterpreter session has opened. Now to interact with this session, we type sessions -i and the number of the session we want to interact. Now after compromising the target, we can do various things such as download and upload files, opening the webcam of the target, and so on. So that's all for my demo and thank you for watching.